Hi YouTube, it is I, Danielle, better known as Danielle the Happy Medium, and welcome to the channel. If you're a return subscriber, then thank you very much for waiting for me. This upload is late because YouTube was not working yesterday for some reason. If you're coming across this video for the first time, then like I say, I am Danielle, an evidential medium, been in the industry over a decade now, teaching, training, sharing knowledge on mediumship, mediumship development. So if this is something you're interested in, then why not come on over, subscribe to the channel. It may just be what you're looking for. So, off the back of the couple of series I've done in regards to psychic versus medium, mediumship images, feelings, big request was a one for clairaudience. So, in this particular video, we're going to talk about the difference between clairaudience, psychic, clairaudience, mediumship. So buckle up, get yourself a cup of tea, come and sit with me for I don't know how long it'll take us to get through this, and I look forward to hearing what you have to say in the comments box. So a lot of mediums don't really work this way, and well, that's actually not true. So a lot of mediums actually do work this way. What I've found over the decade of working in the industry is that most of yous are trained by clairvoyance. So what tends to happen is majority of yous are clairaudience mediums, but because the person in which that you're gaining knowledge from is clairvoyant, you are headed more down that road because that's the way in which that they understand the spirit world, and that's the way in which that they get their information. When you're sitting with somebody like me, I am actually clairaudient by default. So I am one of them mediums who get pictures, but probably not as many pictures as other people get. So I have quite a good bit of knowledge in this area. A lot of this knowledge is things that I've learned, things that I've gained over the years of being in the industry over a decade, and the things that I've just picked up throughout my time of being trained by the spirit world. So for me, how do I know the difference? This took me a few years to learn. It took a while to understand exactly what was coming from spirit versus what was actually being more or less conjured up within the psychic and the awareness. One of the biggest things that I learned was is what was I thinking prior to that song, prior to that name, prior to whatever it is, and then them things started. So let me give you an example. So say I don't know, I was thinking about a class I was going to do, right? But I haven't moved my mind. Then, therefore, whatever comes in is coming either from me thinking about that class and the students because it's a like for like match because they're going to be thinking about me because they're going to be getting ready for class. So it was a really important to monitor what I was thinking about before I started thinking about these things because unless you've moved your mind, which there's videos and stuff, and I will stick them at the end of this one, you're working in the psychic parameter and the awareness. So that information is coming from either the student's oracle fields or just what it is that I'm thinking about in that moment. It's not inspired by the spirit world. I've got to be honest with you on that one. And what I tend to find with clairaudience when it's in the psychic parameter, it's a bit like stuck on repeat. It sort of never really goes anywhere or does anything. One of the things that with psychic is it's like a bit like on a loop. Now a lot of people say this is spirit, but actually it's not. Spirits is very, it comes in and goes straight back out, comes in and goes straight back out. When it's psychic, it tends to be on this sort of loop, like it's sort of like a stuck record, if I could say that to you. And it's just like going round and round and round and round, but it's never going anywhere or doing anything. And so for me, when people say to me, how do you know clairaudience in the psychic parameter, Danielle, versus mediumistic? This is one of the surefire ways. One, first, I monitor what it is that I'm thinking about. Two, I ask myself the question, have I moved my mind to the spirit world? If not, then I'm in the psychic parameter. And three, is this just like on repeat? Like, is it just like mulling and mulling and mulling around my head? Because if I'm answering all three to them questions, more or less, way one would be no, I haven't moved my mind to the spirit, but the other two is a yes, then I'm working in the psychic parameter and not within my evidential psychic, evidential mediumship ability. Mediumistic. So, as I say, lots and lots of people think that that one that I've just talked about is actually coming from the spirit world, when in fact, unless you've moved your mind to the spirit world, your clairaudience is not going to be available to you. One of the ones and some of the things that I've known, I've done a class on tones and textures on and off now for about 3 to 4 years, and I've actually got a remote self-learn paced one on my website for people who are interested in this. When we move the mind to the spirit world, clairaudience takes on what I call tone and texture. In the psychic parameter, there is no tone and texture. It's like I say, just on repeat. It's just on the loop, right? It's not changing. It's not altering. It's not. It's just flat. It's just the same thing, round and round and round and round and round. When we start and play in the spirit world, this is where it gets interesting. Tones and textures, and I've done a video on this on how to find guides this way and everything. Check out the guide section in the channel. Tones and textures. So when we have clairaudience, remember that every communicator we work with has a different tone. So I'll give you an example of this. For us mothers or fathers, you will understand if I was to say to you, your children are in a supermarket filled with 5,000 people and yours is crying along with everybody else's, you would be able to seek out yours versus somebody else's because we all have our own tone and texture of pitch. And this is actually scientifically proven within animals in the wild. So they know the difference between their cubs versus other cubs by not only smell but also tones and textures. And another thing that also, my background is nursing, so one of the last things for somebody to, one of the last sensory systems that is to leave the body before we move to the spirit world is actual sound. Now, a lot of people say it's vision, but actually vision is one of the first things to lose. We actually close our eyes, and many of us who have experienced the loss of a loved one will understand what I'm saying. Eyes will close, appetite will drop, temperature also drops, feelings start to leave, but actually tones and textures or tones of voices stay right up until the very end. So it's only understandable that when we work with clairaudience in the spirit world, and if I was to take that word away, so if you actually take the jargon, fast sort of looking word away, what are we really saying? We're saying we're listening to tones and textures. Music's another example. If you listen to music and you take the lyrics away, you're listening to the beat. That's the same with the spirit world. It's no different. What's happened with mediumship, and I've talked about this a lot. There's a lot of nonsense out there. There really is. There's a lot of nonsense. There's a lot of sort of stuff made showy so that it looks like they know something you don't, but you don't. It's manufacturingly normal to listen to tones and textures. When you're talking to somebody, or when you're listening to me, if you listen to the tones and textures, you'll be able to tell whether somebody's telling you the truth or not. It's common practice to listen to the undertone of what is being said. And I'll give you another example, and this one you can maybe try. When somebody texts you or iMessages you or emails you, right? I can tell by the way in which the words are wrote, the tone of the texture of the words, what that person's really trying to say to me and what they're not trying to say to me. It's not the words. People get caught up with the words, but actually it's not the words. It's the volume of the tones and textures behind the words that you should be more interested in. And this is the same with mediumship, especially when you're working with spirit. A lot of yous, like I say, aren't naturally clairvoyant. Some of yous will only have your pictures come on when you actually work, and some of yous will get no pictures at all. But with tones and textures, we can tell how far away a communicator is. We can also use that in evidence to be able to understand what words are being said as well. So one of the ways in which that I've learned to do clairaudience is to listen to the different tones. Listen to whether that tone is coming from a man or it's coming from a woman. Is it coming from a guide? Is it coming from a loved one? And through that, I've been able to be able to pick out different tones and different understandings. Now, why am I talking to you? So I'm saying, well, why are you talking about this? Because when we work clairaudience, using that word so you understand what I'm saying, the spirit who's given you will have a different tone to your own thoughts. So what I've learned with my guides is that when they're talking to me, that them words have a different abbreviation or a different tone to the sound of me. So when we're working with the loved ones, you should be able to pick out whether it's a woman or a man. Them words are not mine, they're coming from somewhere else. They're not coming from me, they're coming from and also these sort of come in and then they'll go back out. They're not constant, like psychic stuff's constant, and it never really shifts, I've got to be honest. But with this, it'll shift. The alteration of the words will lift. So if you're even listening to me talk, and some of it's a little bit higher pitched, some of it's a little bit lower, some of it's a little bit more elevated, some of it's got a lot more oomph to the word, some of it's only got a little bit of oomph to it. That's exactly the same with spirit. And the beauty with spirit is it moves up and down, tones and textures. You can get the understanding of the words through the tones and textures. Now, all of you listen to people on a day-to-day basis. One of the exercises I give to my students, and it's one that I think is very important for here, listen to people. Well, in a world that's forever talking, and I've got to be honest, like this world, like talking all the time, from influencing to all sorts of stuff that's going on now, nobody's listening. Everybody stopped listening, and everybody's talking. One of the things I've learned over the last 5 years to be a big talker. Now I'm a big non-talker. I talk on here because I'm trying to give you some knowledge, like, but like I've learned to stop talking. Stop listening to what it is that's really going on, because when I listen, I understand the tones and textures of the energy that's sitting around us. I understand the dialogue that's sitting behind everything that's been done, everything that's been said, everything that's happening, everything that's not happening. So one of the things with clairaudience is we're going to learn to listen. We're going to learn to listen really, really well, and that's also listening to not only ourselves but also listening to others, because that way you're going to be able to pick up the tones and textures of the spirit world. And one of the things that I've learned over the 5 year of doing this technique is that when we start to listen, the feelings and everything will sit underneath it. So we don't even have to try so hard. It just comes naturally. But because a lot of people are being given knowledge in such that it should be like a full sentence. The thing with clairaudience is it's not a full sentence like you're sitting listening to me. It's a one word. It's a one word tone. The rest is a mixture of feelings, knowings, maybe a picture, maybe a smell that underpins that word, that builds the sentence. One of the things and the idea that we have with spirit, and this sort of idea that we have out in the industry, is that spirit are giving you everything, but actually they're not. All they're giving you is one piece of evidence, and it's your job to build the sentence, and build the sentence off the back of not only your words but also the feelings and extras that are coming in round that piece of evidence. So for me, clairaudience, when it's from the spirit world, will have a different tone or a different texture to it. It will also have, it will come in and go back out, come in and go back out. It doesn't stay on a loop, if I could say that to you. Another thing with this as well is when you work in clairaudience, is that, and this isn't for picture clairaudience, by the way, this is a listening skill set clairaudience. Clairaudience can be written names. I have spoke about this a little bit, where I see names written above heads in gold writing. That hasn't happened all the time, but it happens from time to time. I love it. It's happened to me ever since I started doing mediumship, I've got to be honest. And I don't really faff with that because I like it, and it stays there, so I just leave it alone. And one of the things I would say to you is, with your mediumship, learn to leave it alone. What I mean by this is something's happening, with the greatest of love and the greatest of respect, sometimes we interfere too much. We sort of get involved in how that evidence is being given to us, or we sort of, want to understand it more. Sometimes it's just the pure magic. One of the things I say to my students all the time, and one of the things I'm going to say to you is don't lose the magic that comes with spirit, and to understand everything takes away a little bit of the magic, I've got to be honest. So learn to sometimes just think, oh well, that's just the way it is, and I'm okay with that, I'm comfortable with that, that works for me. Clairaudience is a beautiful thing when done correctly. You may say, well, how do you get the names? This is, again, it's listening to and if you listen to my name, for example, Danielle. If you listen to Dan, it's quite a strong tone. Dan Lee. So it's got a little bit of a lift now. L lifts right up. And it's about listening to the tones and textures that we can then put into words. One of the examples I give to my students, and I'm going to give to you, is people who are blind, right? They don't see the names, but they listen to the tones and textures and can build a lot from that picture. And this is a bit like sort of how I want to put this clairaudience over to you. It's about understanding the beat. It's about understanding the tone. It's about learning to abbreviate that particular has got that's got a man's tone to that's not mine. That's coming from a communicator or from a guide. Also, energy has a different frequency. Every energy in the spirit world, including your own, is a different vibration. Every one of us is moving in a different vibration depending on where your mindset is versus, what you're doing on that particular day versus what kind of year you've had. And again, as we then move it to spirit move at a totally different frequency to which we do, which is why we move the mind. We don't play in the psychic and awareness. This is not going to get you to there. It just doesn't have the power to do it. It doesn't have the right frequency. When we move the mind, though, we go into a different altered state of frequency, which is a different thought-based matter. So it's important to understand. One of the things that I talk about with clairaudience, and probably why I'm so passionate about it, is it's the science behind it. It's pictures are come and go. Clairvoyance is clairvoyance. Clairaudience asks for a level of understanding of the science behind the back of mediumship, which is something that I've talked about forever on the channel, and something probably because I like science, I have to be honest. I was good at it at school. It's something that's really important for mediumship, not just to prove the survival, but also to understand exactly how spirit are working with us, or at least get a touch of that magic, so that we can continuously evolve the next generation of mediums, I have to be honest. So for me, this is a real passionate subject of mine. One, because I generally work this way, and two, because I've just done so much knowledge in here. Test out some of the exercises I've given you. Check out the remote viewing one I have online. It may be beneficial to some of you who are watching this program, or we're watching this YouTube channel thing, video. Should have a couple of beeps in there, you know what I mean? Anyway, let me know how this one works for you. Let me know how you go about doing this one. Think about it more in regards to, if you didn't have the sight, what would you do? Think of it that way. That'll help you to learn to listen more and see how this goes. Journal it, watch it for a couple of weeks, see if you can see the difference. You never know, it might completely change the way you look at your mediumship. For me, I'll be back Friday with another segment. This one next week, next Friday, next Friday. I've got that much going on. Anyway, Friday coming, we're going to be looking at claircognilian, which is another request from you. If there's a video you want me to do, pop it in the comments box. If I can do it, of course I'll do it. It'll always be from my interpretation of my awareness of what I know and understand. But certainly do check that one out. All right. Have a great week. I'll see you all Friday. Bye for now.